there's something magical about this little chord shift. I call it the Elton Power Plagal. That right there is the unmistakable sound of Elton John. It's instantly recognizable and a huge part of Elton's iconic piano style. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how this chord trick works so you can bring a bit of that Elton flair into your own playing. And stick around because I'm going to show you a clever way to practice it using the circle of fifths. Let's dive in. Okay, before we jump into it, let me show you some actual examples of Elton using this specific trick. Check this out.
Seem to fade to black and white.
There. You can hear it, right? This is Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. It's the same little movement. He doesn't necessarily play it the same every single time, but it's kind of the gesture and the idea behind it. Okay, let me show you another example.
Never knowing who to cling to when the rain set in.
There it is, you see, never knowing who to cling to when the rain set in. It's a little trick he uses in so many places, right? Let's look at one more example.
Should have stayed on the phone, I should have listened to my old man.
There it is. I mean, it's a bit more of a subtle one, but it's still there. It's still the same little trick. Let's have a look at exactly what he's doing. So what he's actually doing here is what we call a plagal cadence. Now, a plagal cadence is any time chord 4 moves to chord 1, right? So in the key of C, a plagal cadence would be F, chord 4, going to chord 1, which is a C, right? So F going to C. It's called a plagal cadence because it's often used at the end of hymns and gospel tunes, like a Amen. It's got that kind of sound to it, right? Now, I say he's doing a plagal cadence. He's actually changing something, right? He's changing something in his left hand. See if you can spot what he's doing. Sounds like a plagal cadence. Kind of is, but what he's doing is he's keeping this C low down in his little finger all the way through. So rather than doing F to C, he's doing F with a C in the bass in his little finger. So it's like F over C going to a regular C. So you get this sound. Kind of just, it grounds it in the key rather than having that root movement, right? Instead of that, he does this. And this is what I call the Elton Power Plagal, right? It's absolutely brilliant. We're gonna kind of add all this rhythm and stuff a little bit later on, so you can kind of get that Elton John sound into your playing. But for a start, we're just gonna have a go at moving these voicings around, okay? And to do that, we're gonna use the circle of fifths. Now, I've spoken about the circle of fifths before here on the channel, but just as a quick reminder, it's essentially a way of organising all the notes in the chromatic scale, right? All the notes on the piano. So rather than playing them in order, you're going to arrange them in fifths. So we're going to start with C at the top, and then a fifth up from C is a G, and then a fifth up from G is a D, and then an A, and then an E, then a B, then an F sharp. That's like one side of the circle of fifths. And then if you keep on going, you get D flat, A flat, E flat, B flat, F, and C. And you got the whole of the circle of fifths, right? And what we're doing is we're thinking of each note as a key. So we're going to start in the key of C at the top of the circle, right? And we're going to play the same thing on each key going around the circle. This is something I do all the time, okay? If I find a voicing I like, or a chord I like, or a little trick, I'll practice it around the circle of fifths, because that means I'm covering every single key. I'm not leaving any stone unturned, right? I'm making sure I've got it down in every key. So then when I'm playing a song in that key, it can come out in my playing and I've already got the kind of idea down. It's already in my playing. We're gonna start at the top in the key of C and just look at this voicing I'm playing. We've got the root down here and the fifth in my left hand. We've got the C and the G. And then in my right hand, we're doubling up these Cs. We've got a C here. We've got the third, which is an E. And then we've got another C at the top, another root at the top. So that is our voicing. And all we're going to do is we're going to move these two notes here up. This one's going to go up a semitone. It's going to go from the E to the F. And this one is going to go up a tone, okay, from the G to the A. C to F over C, and then back to C. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back one step around the circle of fifths, right? We're going backwards, we're going anti-clockwise around the circle of fifths, okay? And I've put together a PDF lesson book that's got all of this written out for you, right? Including the backing track I'm going to be using a little bit later on. So do download that, it's completely free, sheet music notation, it's all written out so you can actually sit at the piano and work through this step by step. The link to download that is in the video description. So the next key we're going to look at is F, which looks like this. So there we're going F to B flat over F, and then back to F again. You see that? So far we've got C, F over C, C, then we go to F, F, B flat over F, and F. Now, can you spot something interesting to do with the circle of fifths and the kind of chords we're using here? I'll just do it again, look. C, F over C, and then back to C. We're actually briefly going to the next one backwards, back in time around the circle. Sometimes you can visualize the circle of fifths as a clock, right? So you're actually going back 5 minutes, okay, each time. When you go from C to F over C, it's like we're going back 5 minutes, yeah? We're just having a quick little touch at 5 minutes before. I think that makes sense. C to F over C, and then back to C. We then go to F, F, to B flat over F, and then back to F, B flat, E flat over B flat, and then going back to B flat. I'm not going to keep on saying the chord names. They'll appear on the screen. Here we go. Let's do E flat. Let's do A flat. Last one before we have a little breather. Okay, so we've gone halfway around the circle of fifths already. I'm going to do a bunch more videos on this, right? Because I think once you start visualizing the circle of fifths as a clock and kind of thinking about it in terms of time and in terms of little increments and all of that stuff, it really starts to kind of open up the possibilities of how you can use it. Okay, let's do the last half of the circle, okay? Let's start at F sharp and let's go the remaining half hour. Up to E. Now to A. There they all are, right? I'm now going to have a go at playing that all the way through. I'm going to start at C, okay? I'm going to do this with a backing track, and I'm going to go backwards around the circle through every single key, okay? Now, I'm not going to be focusing on any rhythm. I'm just going to be playing it super simple, because later on I can add in the... I'll look at that in a bit, but to be honest, if you don't have these shapes down really secure, you're going to find it so much harder to kind of add in that rhythm. You want the notes to be like a reflex reaction where you don't even have to think about them, because you want to be focusing all your attention on the rhythm and making it really groove. Okay, let's give this a go with the backing track. Halfway there, let's keep it going. There we go. So let's have a go now at adding in some of that awesome Elton John rhythm, right? Now, all the way through when I'm doing this, I've got that subdivision going on, that 16th note or semiquaver, whatever you call it. You really have to have that going on in your head all the way through while you're playing this, because it's really going to make you lock into that pulse and feel that rhythm. Let me show you what I'm playing, okay? So I start here. So there's the first voicing, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the C. in my little finger. So I start here on a C and an E, my thumb and my second finger, and with my little finger, I play the C at the top. So that's the first move. And then I go down to my thumb again. So it's like, I'll do that once more for you, a little bit slower. And then we do our chord shift, okay, which is here, the little Elton power plagal. There. So I'll play it all for you, okay? And you kind of have two options of what you can do with your little finger. You can either hold it down the whole way through like this. Notice that little finger just stayed where it is. And if you want to, you can play the little finger on every chord. It just gives it a bit more punch. Check this out. Just gives it a bit more of a kind of attack. Now, what I do is I just practice this over and over, okay? Take it slow, okay? That's the best bit of advice. I'd literally be playing it like this. And really have that subdivision in your head. And then gradually speed it up. Now, there is actually an extra little thing you can do if you want to take this to the next level, which is where you replay the chords at the end of the bar. Watch this. Did you see that? I just did it again at the end of the bar. So if I break that down really slowly, here we go. And I just picked it up with this little root note in my little finger in my left hand. So the whole phrase, if you want to put it together, sounds like this. Sounds great. So Elton John. I'm now going to have a go at taking this pattern round the circle of fifths, okay? We're going to start on C, then go to F. Remember, we're going anti-clockwise, yeah? Back round the circle. Then to B flat, E flat, and so on, okay? It continues right the way back until we get to C, right? If you're wondering what notes you play in all these different patterns, in all the different keys, it's all in that lesson book. I've written it out every step of the way, and I've also given you the backing track as well, so you can practice this in your own time and really take it slow. And what this means is that any time you come across a major chord in a chord sequence, you can use this trick, right? We'll talk a bit more about that in a bit and how you can get a little bit creative with this as well. We'll do that in a second, but let's have a go at playing this exercise through. Halfway there. There we go. Okay, those of you who watch the channel regularly know what's coming now, right? I want you to get creative with this, which means I want you to be able to use it freely and be able to insert it wherever you want. So a really quick way to do this, okay, is to create a bit of a random path for yourself. A random series of root notes, okay? That might sound super weird, but just bear with me here, right? I'm gonna go C, B flat, A flat, G flat. Listen to what would happen if I just play those major chords, right? C, then B flat, then A flat, and then G flat. Super kind of random, right? It sounds weird. Listen what happens when I play the Elton John power plagal on each of these chords, right? It kind of grounds it in the key, listen. It begins to actually sound like an introduction to a song rather than a series of random chords. And I think the reason for this, I think 4-1 in a key, which is kind of what we're doing here, C to F over C to C. It's such a kind of grounding cadence. It really kind of brings us home. And when you then do this pattern on a series of random notes, it kind of grounds it in that space. And it means you can just play about with it with different root notes, right? So let me do another example. I'm just going to go on a bit of a journey here. Watch this. It's kind of weird, but it gets you kind of improvising a little bit and just trying out different chords and kind of putting them together. Because we practiced the Elton John power plagal on each of the notes in the circle of fifths, the keys in the circle of fifths, it means we're super free to kind of play about with it how we want. Let me do one more before we call it a day. Some of them don't sound as good as the others, but you kind of get the idea, right? It works really well as an intro. It's beautiful. Give it a go. See what you can come up with. Thanks so much for watching this video. I do hope you found it useful. If you could hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, that would mean a huge amount. And it also means that you get notified every single time we release a video. We've got a bunch of videos on the channel, all designed to help you get more creative, confident and free when playing the piano. Talking of which, if you like Elton John and you enjoyed this video, I think you're going to love this video up here where I break down the classic intro to your song. Go give that video a click and I'll see you over there.